Getting a big group together to play board games is always great, but sometimes you're tired of playing yet another party game or can't face the scheduling issues of getting multiple adults in one room together.
But sometimes you just want a day with a friend, getting stuck into a game one-on-one, or settling in with a loved one for a cute date night.
So, we're here with 7 games that are perfect for playing with just 2 people.
Whether you want something heavy that will take up an entire weekend with deep stories to get lost in, or something simple to pull out over drinks that doesn't take too much thinking, we've got you covered. What if we unison to that last one? So here are the best board games. So here are the best 2-player games to play in 2024. I love war games. I love the strategy of war games. I love the intricate mechanics and back and forth push and pull struggles of war games, but I don't love that war games tend to last about 4 hours. Well, that's exactly what General Orders seeks to solve with its clever design in a tiny little box. In this World War II themed strategy title for 2, each player will take the role of either Axis or Allied generals as they fight for control over one of 2 theatres. But this isn't a dudes on a map, territory claiming distance measuring war game. This is a worker placement game. For the uninitiated, in a worker placement game, you'll spend your turn picking from preset actions across the board with a limited amount of actions to use each round. You might want to move your troops to new ground, reinforce, or draw some useful strategic cards to give yourself the upper hand against your enemy, but you only have so much time to spare. Not to mention that your opponent will be picking what actions they want to take in between each of yours. So what ensues is a super quick but bitey and Moorish game of tug and war over important territories in between each of your bases. You'll set up flanking maneuvers, spring ambushes and surprise attacks, bombard your enemy with artillery blasts and wrestle for control of the center of the board with its strategic bonuses, all on a tiny little hex-based board. General Orders is a fantastic example of doing more with less, and on this miniature map you'll have just as many dramatic conflicts as you would on more sprawling and table-hogging games of its ilk. It also helps that the slightly stuffy World War theme is brought to life in gorgeous, colourful illustrations, flexing an almost travel poster-esque aesthetic. If you're craving a classic wargame experience but need it to wrap up real quick and play in a small space, then General Orders was made for you.
If you always wish your favorite video games with rich, expansive worlds had an option for a player too, or you enjoy sitting down for a new TV show that has endless lore and countless seasons to discuss with someone else, then Sleeping Gods is the perfect game to pick up. The original and upcoming Distant Skies sequels see you explore a twisting open world searching for a way home as you battle monsters, meet new characters, and get lost in a long and exciting story. You play as a captain or pilot, depending on the version, with their crew and must lead them through this strange new world. But it never feels like you're railroaded from point A to B. Quests are given to you as vague directions with landmark clues that really reward exploring. And once you land somewhere, there are real options for every scenario, like sweet-talking an old lady into parting with a map, or burning her house down in anger, stopping to save a village from rat folk, or steering completely clear for safety. Both campaigns are a big undertaking meant to be played in hour-plus long sessions at a time, but are also the perfect game to have on the go to dip in and out of whenever you want another piece of the puzzle. Gameplay can be paused anytime and neatly packed away ready for your next session. It's the perfect thing to get really stuck into with another person, whiling away a Sunday afternoon date night, or an entire weekend if you're not careful.
What is easily the most adorable game on the list, Boop and its spoopy Halloween cousin Boop see you and an opponent gathering a group of cute little kittens to bounce onto a cozy bed. With possibly the sweetest board for a game I've ever seen, you'll be physically flipping over the bottom of your box and putting a little padded mat over the top to make a mattress for your kittens. Is that not just adorable? Boop follows the thematic rulings of the classic children's song 5 Monkeys on the Bed, you know, and the other one said roll over. On your turn, you'll be placing kittens of your team's colour onto the mattress-like board. Whenever you place a kitty, each other adjacent kitty gets booped away 1 space. either getting placed in a new spot or getting booped right off the side of the bed and out of play. Using the booping movement of your kitties, you'll be attempting to push your kittens into a line of 3, either orthogonally or diagonally, at which point your 3 little kittens will be removed from the board and upgraded to big, chunky cats. You'll be able to place these cats like any other game piece, but they have 2 special rules. First of all, a big cat can't be moved by a little kitten. This gives them some extra protection from your opponent trying to disrupt your formations. Secondly, if you manage to line up 3 big cats in a row, after all the pieces have moved that is, you win the game. Boop can be taught in a matter of seconds, but like with any good abstract, you'll be staring at the board and scratching your head to try and find a way to interrupt the other player and set yourself up for the next move in the most efficient and pleasing way. It's an absolutely adorable package that hides some sneakily tricksy strategies.
If you're looking for a 2-player game small enough to pop in a bag and take on a trip or pull out while having drinks, then you generally can't go wrong with Blue Orange games. They're often compact, quick experiences, and Next Station Tokyo is no different. This flip and write is all about building a subway network for the city. And that might sound like a pretty dry topic, but stick with us, it's actually really addictive. Each round, you'll be using one of the 4 coloured pencils to map out a different subway line, swapping the next turn until you've used every colour and filled your map with rails. To build the tracks, you'll start at the corresponding station, then flip a card to see what symbol you can branch out into, gradually building this network of rails to score points for a well-connected city. And that might sound kind of simple, but of course there are rules and scoring that mean you'll constantly want to play again to improve your subway line. There are cards that allow you to run rails next to each other, doubling up lines, tourist stamps to reach for bonus points, and advanced rules that see you fulfill specific requests in your town planning. It has a nice light level of strategy that means you have moments of fierce concentration, but doesn't stop you and your player 2 enjoying easy conversation. Plus, the joy and despair of turning over a card and seeing the next station symbol makes for some very entertaining games. Once you get the hang of it, you can easily pull it out to play wherever you are. So if you've been searching for a game that travels well from coffee dates to aeroplanes, then hop on Next Station Tokyo.
This past 2 years have been an absolute stormer for new TCGs, with Star Wars Unlimited, Altered, and our pick for a fantastic 2-player game to play this Valentines, Disney's Lorcana. Winner of our ongoing card game of the year at the 2023 Tabletop Awards, Lorcana sees 2 or more players controlling decks of beloved Disney characters old and new, from Legend of the Sword and the Stone and Snow White to Raya and the Last Dragon and Treasure Planet. You and your friends will be playing as Illumineers, special visitors to the world of Lorcana with the ability to weave magical ink into glimmers of your favorite Disney characters. You'll be using those characters to quest for lore, a treasured resource in the game world, and your victory points at the table. The first to reach 20 lore will snag the win, but along the way, you'll be challenging your opponent's characters to fights to control the board, you'll be using special actions and songs to enable your game plan, and using all sorts of synergies between your cards to try and grind out a win. Lorcana is a collectible card game, which means that whilst you can play with ready-made starter decks if you want to just jump straight in, you'll also be able to construct your own wacky brews of Disney favourites. There's 6 colours of ink, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Like Amber is super good at flooding the board with cheap characters and healing, but doesn't have very good removal, unlike Ruby, which can destroy pretty much anything your opponents put on the board, but plays a lot slower. As you can only have a max of 2 colours of ink in a deck you build, and not to mention that there's loads of different mechanics and themes that you can build around even in just one colour, that means that there's an absolute ton of replay value even with just 2 sets currently available. And don't worry, there's plenty more to come, with a brand new set coming out this month and way more to arrive in the future. If you've ever wanted to try out a TCG but Magic seemed a little bit too daunting and you still have absolutely no idea what's going on with Yu-Gi-Oh!, then don't worry, because not only is Lorcana full of familiar faces to help you along, it's also massively beginner friendly. In fact, my niece is only 7 years old and she's already a pro.
Moving house is always terrible, no one is denying that, but There is one small happiness that comes from the whole ordeal, and that's getting a fresh space to decorate. The blank wall just waiting to be filled with memories and knickknacks. If you enjoy the challenge of a new space to fill or just collecting beautiful things, then Art Society might be a perfect fit for you. In it, you play as rich art connoisseurs looking to curate the perfect gallery in their home. Each turn, you'll secretly bid on the available paintings with the hopes of collecting whatever you want and adding it to your home. However, there are strict rules on taste in high society, so you need to avoid any faux pas like putting paintings of the same type next to each other, although matching frames looks impeccable and can earn you extra points. Then there are the constantly changing fashions, where the types of work you collect are worth more or less depending on the score different types of paintings build up over time in the museum. It's these details and the competition over art that makes it more than standard tile laying and especially fun 1v1. The paintings all sit in a plush velvet box that makes them feel like little works of art, while the renditions of famous paintings are really well thought out with cute details among all the nods to classics. If you have a fondness for art, like a little competition, or pretending to be a rich snob with someone else, then Art Society is a perfect option for two.
Why don't the classic games evolved like chess and checkers and Go have more fun and colourful modern counterparts? Just like Boop before it, Donuts brings some much needed whimsy to the space of abstract games by having the titular sugary treats fill up a colourful pink and white board as you play. Each player will choose either vanilla or chocolate donuts and will take turns placing one of their pieces on the board. The goal of the game is simple. You just need to get 5 of your flavour of donuts into a diagonal or straight line row, and the first to do so wins. But this isn't Connect 4, you can't just pop something down wherever you want. Instead, you'll need to obey the placement rules of Donut's tiled board, and this is where the fun puzzle of the game kicks in. Each square on your board, which is randomised by the way, is half pink and half white, and the line that forms between the two colours indicates a direction, either horizontal, vertical or diagonal. Whenever your opponent places one of their donuts into a space, the line of the space indicates the direction that your donut must be placed in relation to theirs. I hope we've got B-roll for this. Abstract games are so difficult to describe. So if the line on the space that your opponent chose was diagonal, you have to place your donuts on one of the spaces that shares that diagonal line with the original donut. Does that make sense? That turns every piece that you place into an important restriction to impose on your opponent's next move, and makes some really interesting and chess-like decision making as the board gets more and more dense with delicious little glazed counters. Add on top of that the ability to flip your opponent's donuts to your flavour by filling the gap between 2 of their donuts with your own, and you've got a surprisingly strategic little 2-player game. Just do not be fooled by its sweet appearance. So those were 7 of the best.
So, those are 7 of the best 2-player games to play in 2024.
What games do you like cracking out when you have 2 players? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you want more recommendations on board games and beyond, we have a ton of other videos to check out, as well as many more on the way. So, subscribe for those and follow us over on TikTok.
We also write over on dicebreaker.com with daily news and updates on all things tabletop.
But for now, sorry for adding yet more games to your wish list. And until the next time, have a lovely day.